I mean, I believe, you know, with my second experience in this deal, it starts at warm up. You can tell the energy and the crowd and the players. So, you know, it's going to be a big deal, and we've got to be able to go out and start fast when we get out there on the field, you know, to give ourselves a chance to win this football game.
If you could describe how much your players dislike Ole Miss, you know, from what you've heard, or how would you say that?
Well, you know, I don't believe it's dislike. I believe it's more respect. You know, you really respect who they are and what they've been able to establish in this state and in this program. And so there's more respect than dislike. You've got a bunch of guys, as I said earlier, they've grown up with each other, they know each other, and they want to be able to have that bragging right, you know, throughout, not only throughout this year, but throughout their career. You want to be able to say, hey, I was able to play at a high level against a school up north and win up north, you know, win against that team every year.
I couldn't help but notice on Fletcher's fumble recovery that not only did he look athletic on that play, but he ran away from offensive skill guys from Arkansas. Just talk about that play and how it showcased his ability athletically more than maybe he has all year long.
He was afraid. No, he was afraid. You know, who wants to be on national television getting walked down? But no, Fletcher's got some unique skill sets for a big guy, a guy who's flexible, a guy who's mobile and athletic. The key part for me was watching him bend down and get the ball. You know, you look at a lot of guys who are 300 pounds who wouldn't have been have the ability to bend, scoop and then run down the field. So, you know, it says a lot about him. You know, I just wish we could have poked it in.
When you look at your, I think I've asked you this before, do you go to your DNs like Sean Ferguson and Shane McCardell and say, Jonathan Banks is second on this team in sacks with 3?
Yeah.
And that's a reflection on you.
Well, I always tell my guys, play like the great players.
Okay.
It doesn't matter. You know, I look at Charles Mitchell, the play he made over the middle of the field. You know, it's easy to talk about what guys can't do, but at some point you have to give them a picture of what to do. And so what I try to do and what Coach Mullen does is we point out those guys who are playing at a high level. And so play like him. Eat what he eats. Sit where he sits.
Right.
Stand where he stands. Do those things that great players do. And that's what's key, you know. And I think sometimes that's as good as pointing out the bad things. You know, showing kids a really sound example of what great players play like. And so,
from a layman's perspective, Dan talked about being soft in pass coverage. Is that essentially cornerbacks are even starting to play too far away from receivers? Does it even start there?
It's collective. You know,
okay.
we knew coming into last week's game that one of the big things that they do is throw the ball over your head. You know, they're very effective not only at throwing it underneath but vertical. And what we wanted to do was not have any balls thrown over our head, and we wanted to create no yards after catch. Well, we weren't able to do a couple of those. You know, they were able to throw it in some of our pressures and make really the one that they made versus Wade. You know, Wade was in position. They threw it to the back of his zone. They make a great play and a great catch. The next one is fire zone. We were in a fire zone, and they throw one right down the field. Well, we could have been better and did some things better to help ourselves, but we didn't. They executed well, and we didn't. And what we've got to do is when we play against teams like this, we've got to be able to eliminate yards after catch. People are too good and too skilled to say they're not going to catch balls. I believe they'll catch some balls next week, too. Because they've shown they catch balls against everybody they play.
So it sounds like the 70% completion percentage that teams have on you isn't as much a concern as other items.
Touchdowns are the key.
Okay.
Touchdowns are the key. Our job at the end of the day is to not let people have touchdowns. And so, you know, and that will always be our goal as long as Coach Mullen and has us here. We don't want people to score touchdowns. We want to be able to kick field goals. And so, you know, obviously we've got to do a better job on third downs of getting ourselves off the field. That's one of the biggest reasons that's one of the biggest ways to control that 70% completion rate is getting off the field on third down.
Coach, you've been a part of some big rivalries. In your coaching career, how would you categorize this rivalry right here?
It's up there, especially for an in-state rivalry. You know, I grew up in Texas, and you got A&M in Texas, but there are also 12 other universities in that state. You know, I've been with it at OU, Oklahoma State, but it's not like this. And there's a lot of respect. There really is that civil that split right down the middle of the state of who's who. So you feel the intensity of it being year 2, and the stakes only go higher and higher and higher because everybody wants that bragging right for the next year.
Like you said, you've been mostly a Big 12 guy. Do you remember a moment when it was conversation or something happened and you kind of realized, I'm sure you knew about the Egg Bowl, but just how big it was?
Until you experience it, you can talk about it, you can say what it, but until you actually touch it and it touches you, you realize how important and how not only important and critical it is to this state for a lot of reasons. For a lot of reasons. I mean, for recruiting, for so many different levels, it's important to both schools because, again, we're all vying for the same respect in the state, and so it makes it a really, really big game.
You mentioned it there, but when you do go on the road, and how much does it affect, recruiting when, you've won a game or lost a game against the rival, especially Ole Miss?
I don't know how much it helps you. I mean, but I know I shouldn't say that. I don't know how much it helps you, but I know it can hurt you.
Right.
Would probably be the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And so you want to have as many positive things to sell about your program that you can sell, and that's no matter where you're at. You want to be able to have a positive feedback and sell your program every opportunity you can, and winning that game helps that.
Dan.